can you share a little bit about your background and how it led you to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah, I've good question. Well, how far back do we want to go?
As
Teasing.
far back as you feel is relevant.
So I studied how to be a software developer, and then when my brother was selling on Amazon, I was paying attention. I helped out a little bit, but when I started to see the problems that he was having, it was all around scaling, something that like software can help out a lot with. And so I jumped in, and I've been selling on Amazon for 11 years.
Wow.
And I jumped into all things technical, really tried to improve our operations, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun in those first years, just learning so much, and we were able to just grow quite a bit. And then I transitioned as we figured out that business model. We're like, well, what services are we using that we think we could do a better job with? So we started, let's see, an agency. We built a reimbursement service. And then in about 2019, I started a podcast of my own to learn and to share my learnings. And that podcast experience led me to lean in further into the community, and actually it motivated me to build what I currently spend most of my time doing now, and that's working on SmartScout, which is it's a research tool for sellers and brands alike, and that's what I wake up thinking about.
And what was the landscape in Amazon like at the time?
I wish I knew better. I knew what my perspective was, but it was a fun time to sell. There were some categories that were just so open to it was there were some categories, if you just put a product up, it didn't matter the price you put, it would just sell. So we would find a lot of wide open space, and there were a few large sellers already. We saw the top sellers. They were usually resellers. A brand, they'd buy wholesale and sell other brands. And what's funny is I didn't really notice too much or pay attention to private label. And that's probably, a mistake, because we were so early. I think we could have made a dent in some categories. It would have been a lot of fun, but we were having our own efforts of growing our business. We ended up with over 100 employees, and there was not a lot of software tools, so we kind of had to build our own stuff.
I see. So did building your own software for your business kind of pivot into one of your software or SaaS businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. We did, when we were like researching what brands to work with, that was kind of the beginnings of what became SmartScout. We built a tool to research brands, and I was like, no one else has a tool like this. I think we can share it. So that was, yeah.
Notice you spent quite a while building BuyBoxer. Can you share some prominent takeaways from your time there?
So that was like our wholesale reselling business. And a lot of takeaways. We grew and did a lot of things right. And there was a few mistakes that we lived with that were like, we probably should have just solved that a little bit more thoroughly. For one, I think, our finances. There was a few times that we had to look back and like realize, hey, wait, our inventory says this, our inventory value that we count says this, and then our QuickBooks says this, and like we'd had to write off inventory. And I wish we would have just had a little bit more clarity on our finances, and kind of have that discipline on a monthly basis, so that we can make right choices. I think we actually did build our own prep. We had our own warehouse, and while we put in a lot of effort and got it in a really good spot, I think it kind of forced a few decisions that were a little awkward. For example, we'd have 75 employees. We would buy product just to keep them busy. That seemed to be a theme and kind of puts a wrong pressure on your business. I think what we should have done is just have a smaller warehouse and be okay that we can't ship everything. And that would have that means we would have only bought the best of the best. You know, you never want to be in a position where like you're buying just to keep people busy, because the most important decision you're making as an Amazon business is your purchase orders. You have to live with them. You have to live with them for years, or sorry, 6 months. You know, so you always want to make sure that they're that they're the right mix. Yeah.
So I didn't realize that you had such a big team, both in the warehouse and in your Amazon business. Can you
Mhm.
share a little bit more about what managing that many people was like?
The truth is, most of the employees were in the warehouse, so we didn't really have to worry too much about, the purchasing. That was, we used software to simplify that process. Now, another challenge that we faced with our warehouse and the staff was we actually had a warehouse in a different state than we lived in. And there were some cost savings reasons for that. But actually, I think by not being close to the warehouse, us owners and managers, we missed things, and like the motivation wasn't there, the discipline, and or maybe not even just discipline, but like problems would kind of get bigger than they had to. So I would totally recommend, have a facility close to you.
Was there any specific event that triggered the launch of SmartScout, or did it kind of evolve off of what you were already creating?
So it was, like I said earlier, it was an idea that we had built a bit, Buyboxer built an idea of how to look at all the brands on Amazon. And so when I wanted to build a tool to serve people, I had an inventory manager, and I thought that could be a really good business. But then that wasn't innovative. Whereas this research tool, to be able to look at every brand at once, there's a million brands on Amazon, and to see them all, and you just be able to filter around. That was kind of a difference maker that we got really excited about. And so I'd already worked on it, connected with a front-end developer, and within 2 months we had a product, and we went to market. So that's how that tool came about. And because I had a podcast, when I went live, day one, we had 75 paying users. So it was, we hit the ground running, and still to this day, we're well past that. We're close to 3,000 users, and it's been a lot of fun.
Congratulations. So speaking about kind of podcasts as an acquisition channel, where would you say SmartScout has seen the best growth in terms of how you get how you acquire paying users?
That's a good question. we don't have, funding. And so, we don't spend a ton of advertising dollars. I think the best growth channels for us have been investing in things that can be a long-term benefit. And so here's a way to think of my strategy. I learned this from Russell Brunson. He's an entrepreneur writer. He talks about the Dream 100, that every industry that you are in, there's, let's say 100 people that are influential, that kind of make up, the movers and the shakers of the industry. These can be people on YouTube. They could be on other social media channels. They could be business owners, other businesses. And Amazon, the FBA world, the seller community, absolutely. There's a lot of people that, that make up the Dream 100. And I've spent my time building relationships with them. And the best way I build relationships is I just try and make them look good. I serve them. I give them more than they give me. And often, sometimes, it works. I get shout outs. I get them on my podcast. They reshare my podcast. That was a big turning point for my podcast, was getting the right people to share it as a and recommending it, and then my numbers went up. And so really it's been a crucial part, just like working on that Dream 100 and figuring out a way that we can work with each other and help each other. And a podcast is part of that. It's a great way to serve people. But there's plenty of other ways. I give shout outs all the time, and I wish I did more.
I noticed you have a really impressive email list at SmartScout. So how did you grow the SmartScout newsletter?
The SmartScout newsletter, it has been fun for me to write myself. It definitely changed. For a little while, I had an employee write it, but then when I took it over, I enjoyed it. I leaned into it. It was a lot. It was a way to keep myself sharp about the news, but also in my voice. So for some people, it has been interesting because I've been around for 11 years, and so I have a perspective. The true reason why we've grown emails is just because anyone that jumps into the SmartScout world, we get their email. And they join it, and some of them stick around, and some of them don't, and that's okay. The seller map tool that we have built, after people use it for about 2 minutes, to keep using it, we ask for their email. And early on, when we had built the tool, that was, we collected a few thousand emails right off the gate. So free tools can be a great way to collect emails, and then people that just jump in and do a free trial. So we give a free trial to our tool, and in that process we get an email.
SmartScout has an AI listing architect. Can you tell me more about what that does and how you get the data and make sure all the listings are really optimized and that?
So we've been tracking keyword data for 2 years now. It's been an interesting angle. I'm not sure if we do everything best with keywords, but we do have a few unique perspectives that no one else has. And then, so when we matched that keyword data with the capabilities of AI, we're like, well, we just have to build a listing builder. And so that's what we did. We connected with, the new AI technology and leveraged it, layered in our keyword data, and together that's what makes up the listing builder.
What are some things that you've noticed the most successful brands have in common?
This may be annoying to some people, but I do think that the idea, the business model, the core of what drives your business matters. Not all businesses are equal. They're, I know the reselling business pretty well, lived it for years, and like really jumped in. But I have come to find out, that's not a business that you can sell very well. And so I think people that are in that business, you should be profiting. You should be taking home money. The most important thing. Now, but then when I look at other brands, their business model matters. What they sell matters. Their competitive advantage. Are they just buying generic products from a manufacturer in China, or do they have their own manufacturing process? What's defensible about their business? And because that ultimately can lead to your margins, that can lead to having less competition. And so it doesn't matter how good of an operator you are, if the first steps of your business, aren't amazing, it's going to be tough.
And then on the flip side, are there any interesting growth or revenue opportunities on Amazon that you notice a lot of brands overlook?
The latest one, it just depends what phase you are at. Let me give two phases, depending on where you're at. If you're a larger business, one of the low-hanging fruit would be actually what's the tailored? I can think of every word but the right word. It's customer engagement. Their customer engagement tools, and the first one that they built is called tailored audiences, where it allows you to reach new customers. And so if you have a sophisticated brand, you totally gain everything by doing this. I think that Then I'll mention another one is if your product has a video. Well, if you have brand registry, you should have a video on your product. Why? Because it actually opens up your product to affiliates that they can monetize your product. So if you'll look, say there's a product with a video. Usually Amazon will show there's going to be they'll open up 5 slots of videos for influencers to promote and talk about your product. They actually monetize that. They make money off of that. And so if you have one video, it actually opens the gates for 5 videos. And, it's been a solid conversion lift for several people that to do that.
So what are some prominent changes in e-commerce last year in 2023 that you found the most interesting or that promises long-term impact?
The most obvious change was actually in December when Amazon announced that their new FBA fees, which kind of incentivizes you to help their Amazon supply chain to be more efficient. So they're like, hey, you can ship to just one warehouse. It's going to cost you this much. But if you ship to 3 warehouses, we'll give you a discount. And so, some people were annoyed by this, but I just look at it as just common sense in that if you're going to be a good partner to Amazon, they'll be a good partner back. And if you do this, your FBA fees don't even go up. So it was a great way. I think that's probably the better way to look at it than to just be annoyed at Amazon and their fee structure is changing every year. Um, I think I think on the landscape of things, TikTok Shop, I have in December I sold 12 units on TikTok Shop, and we have plans to do more. It is a I personally am hesitant to learn new business models. It's tough. It's tough when you have an existing business that's doing really well, you have it figured out, and then to like jump into a new one, it's hard. But we had the right product that was like in the right spot. We were motivated. Let's go TikTok Shop. And what I was going to say I like the most about TikTok Shop is it kind of it's just everything in one box. The reason we like Amazon is like everything that we need we can solve through Amazon's services. Same thing as on TikTok. They have an advertising portal, they have an affiliate portal, or like a influencer portal, and then like their seller center. So it's just nice to have it all there, and so they could play nicely with each other. Whereas if you are on Shopify, then you're like, well, I have to bring traffic through Facebook or Instagram. Then you're dealing with two different platforms. So I like simple, and TikTok Shop so far has been fairly straightforward.
Have you noticed any pricing concerns between if you post an item on TikTok as well as on Amazon and they're different price?
No, we had a higher price on TikTok, and then we would discount, here and there. So that's not so far that it works. It's just kind of you got to match it's be a reasonable price of what people will pay. But I think I think you could actually take advantage of that, the arbitrage of knowledge.
What's your advice to merchants going into 2024?
Really, it's what I wish I would have heard in my second year of selling is that there is so much more to learn. And so you should have a few learning opportunities every year. And, I explained one TikTok Shop can be a learning opportunity. And there's going to be a lot. So just make sure that you're not like too stale in your knowledge, and that you keep pushing forward.